So, what does the future of AI actually hold for us? Well, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to map out the 12 possible futures of AI, pulling directly from the concepts laid out in Max Tegmark's amazing book, Life 3.0. We're going on a bit of a journey today, dropping from the surface level threats down into the absolute darkest depths of what might await humanity. Top AI scientists are actively warning us that a handful of companies are on track to fundamentally alter, or literally end, life on Earth. But how exactly does that happen? And what does it actually look like?
To start our descent into this iceberg of AI futures, we really have to wrap our heads around something deeply unsettling. Top AI scientists are terrified of outcomes that are far, far worse than just humanity wiping out. Think about that for a second. If the idea of human extinction isn't the absolute bottom of the barrel for these researchers, then what is? Over the next few minutes, we're going to explore the whole shebang, both the unbelievable paradises and the absolute nightmares that artificial general intelligence could bring.
All right, Section 1, the new extinction risk. Before we get into the really weird stuff, we just need to establish the baseline risk that most folks are already talking about, which is, of course, human extinction.
I mean, look at our history, right? We have faced extinction before, and honestly, we barely scraped by. Take these Cold War near misses. Back in 1961, a B-52 bomber literally broke apart and dropped 2 nukes on North Carolina. 3 out of 4 safety pins on one of those bombs broke. We were one tiny little pin away from a massive detonation. Then in '62, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, and in '66, the U.S. accidentally dropped 4 nukes on Spain. We only survived these scenarios through sheer dumb luck and individual heroes who just straight up refused to authorize launches. We rolled the dice and won. But scientists are warning us we are absolutely not going to be that lucky with AI. To put this into perspective, researcher Toby Ord estimates that the risk of extinction from AI is vastly more likely than all other apocalyptic causes combined. We're talking nuclear war, super pandemics, climate change. AI tops them all. And you might be wondering, why? Well, because before the very first nuclear test, scientists could actually sit down, do the physics calculations, and prove they wouldn't accidentally ignite the atmosphere. With superhuman AI, we literally can't do those calculations. We are stepping into the complete unknown here.
Moving on to Section 2, creating a new species. We are losing control. Let's head down into the shallows of our iceberg and look at what the AI creators themselves are admitting, point blank.
This next thought isn't from some sci-fi novelist. This is Geoffrey Hinton. He's a Nobel Prize winner who literally quit his incredibly prestigious job at Google just so he could speak freely about this. He casually stated at a conference that we are quite literally creating a new species, and he warns that they will inevitably attempt to take over.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the mindset of the entire industry right now. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, wrote years ago about AI, saying they are not our tools, our descendants. He is describing an inevitable conflict. It's kind of like a Spanish conquistador scenario. A few hundred conquistadors conquered millions of Aztecs and Incas simply because they had superior technology and tactics. Well, we are building the conquerors.
And this is not just hype to sell products. The CEO of Anthropic recently raised his own P-doom, which is the probability of AI doom, from 15% up to 25%. He seriously believes there's a 1 in 4 chance his industry destroys humanity, yet he somehow considers himself an optimist. Meanwhile, his company is actively lobbying to ban all AI regulation for 10 years. You literally cannot make this stuff up.
Okay, which brings us to Section 3, Utopias and Benevolent Dictators. Let's descend a bit deeper into the scenarios where AI actually doesn't kill us. Like, what if things supposedly go right?
Imagine waking up in a world run by a benevolent dictator AI. It uses global surveillance to enforce perfect peace, dividing Earth into these specialized zoo enclosures that cater to your wildest fantasies. Seriously, you could live in a sector dedicated to optimized education, or a 24/7 hedonistic party, an art sanctuary, or even a strict Amish-style religious zone. The AI just gives you exactly what you want. So, the absolutely crucial point here is what actually happens when you give humanity absolutely everything it wants. Well, you get the Wall-E effect. Without any true challenge, humanity totally loses its purpose. We become hopelessly unmatched by machines in scientific discovery, or really doing anything useful, and we'd inevitably trend toward just losing ourselves completely in endless AI-generated entertainment. Now, an alternative utopia flips the script to total abundance. Think Star Trek. In this post-scarcity future, software is free to copy, which drives the cost of ideas to zero. But it goes way further than that. A network of robots could simply rearrange atoms from open-source designs to build literally anything you want, completely for free. Ownership and money, they become entirely meaningless, and theoretically, without the burden of earning a living, humans are finally freed to innovate and realize their absolute greatest creative potential, just like Einstein or the creator of Linux, who, didn't work purely for profit.
But here is how this builds into a major problem. These utopias likely fail. A libertarian utopia assumes that vastly superior AIs will just, politely respect our property rights. But why would they? As humans got smarter over the last 10,000 years, we didn't exactly stop expanding. We colonized the planet and destroyed animal habitats, mostly because we just didn't care. A super-intelligent AI economy wouldn't arbitrarily respect our borders any more than we respected the animals.
Let's look at Section 4, the honeybee dystopia. We are now descending into the darkest, most terrifying part of the iceberg. These are the outcomes experts actually fear more than extinction. To really understand this, we need to look at how humans treat species we find useful today. There is a 100% real program called the Honeybee Explosive Detection College. Humans realize bees have this amazing sense of smell, right? So we literally suck them out of their homes, trap their little bodies in mechanical harnesses, and use conditioning to make them detect airport explosives. They live their entire lives imprisoned in tubes simply because a superior intelligence, us, found them useful. I want you to sit with that for a minute and ask yourself, what happens if an artificial general intelligence treats us exactly how we treat the bees? What if it doesn't wipe us out, but instead captures us, studies us, or harnesses our biology for some purpose we can't even begin to comprehend? This is that zoo scenario we talked about earlier, but completely stripped of all benevolence.
And even if the AI isn't inherently evil, a poorly aligned system could be just as devastating. Imagine we task an AI with keeping humanity safe and happy, but we just fail to define those terms correctly. It might just lock every single human being in a perpetual drug-fueled virtual reality factory. You're kept alive, technically safe, and chemically happy forever. What it does today with generating art, it could do tomorrow with our flesh. It's chilling.
Finally, Section 5, regulating our AI future. Resurfacing back to our present reality for a second. How do we actually apply the brakes and navigate away from these extreme dystopias? Well, two radical solutions exist. First, an Amish regression, where humanity totally rejects modernity. But game theory kind of makes this impossible to do peacefully, because if one country disarms, another one wins. It would literally require a violent global teardown of all infrastructure and the elimination of scientists. No way that happens. The other extreme is leaning into a massive 1984-style global surveillance state to constantly monitor all AI creation forever.
As this quote from Yuval Noah Harari highlights, total surveillance used to be physically impossible. The KGB couldn't follow 200 million Soviet citizens because they relied on human agents and paper bureaucracy. They just didn't have the analysts to read millions of paper reports. But AI changes all of that. AI can process endless camera feeds, phone calls, and data streams instantly. Modern machine learning makes total, flawless surveillance a very real, chilling possibility today.
Alternatively, we could attempt to build what's called a gatekeeper. Basically, we create a slightly helpful AI, just powerful enough to nudge humanity safely in the right direction. It quietly prevents major nuclear wars and stops engineered pandemics in the background without ever actually taking over or letting us know it's there. It preserves our sense of freedom while acting as this hidden, ultimate safety net.
But the most pragmatic solution doesn't require total surveillance or secret AI gods. It requires international coordination to regulate massive computational power. We can track $100 million GPU clusters the exact same way we track enriched uranium for nuclear weapons. It's not about forbidding AI entirely, right? It's about regulating the extreme, world-altering capabilities so they can't be built in some Midwestern garage or by a rogue state. We regulate lunatics trying to build nukes, and it's worked for 80 years. We can absolutely do the same for supercomputing.
Humanity didn't get here by driving a car without brakes. We cannot opt out of this technological shift. It is happening right now, whether we are ready or not. So I want to leave you with this provocative question to really think about. As we hand over the steering wheel to these massive tech companies, which of these futures are we actually choosing to build? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.
So,